You will be inside of us soon, human. The message echoed across every communication channel on Earth, sending shockwaves through the global population. A fleet of alien ships had appeared in orbit, their distinctive design unmistakable. The Ferengi, a species known for their business acumen and oversized ears, had arrived with a proposition that would alter the course of human history. Adam Cox, a 35-year-old geneticist and former Navy SEAL, stood in the United Earth government's command center, his eyes fixed on the main screen displaying the Ferengi flagship. He'd been summoned from his lab, where he'd been working on cutting-edge genetic therapies, to lead negotiations with the aliens. His unique combination of scientific expertise and military background made him the ideal candidate for this unprecedented diplomatic mission. As Adam boarded the shuttle that would take him to the Ferengi ship, he mentally prepared himself for the task ahead. The fate of humanity could rest on his shoulders. The Ferengi had explained their dire situation. A genetic defect threatened their species with extinction. Their solution? Use human DNA to create hybrid offspring, literally putting human genetic material inside Ferengi bodies. The shuttle docked with the alien vessel, and Adam stepped into a world of gleaming metal and strange, curved architecture. He was greeted by Pollux, the lead Ferengi negotiator. Pollux's large ears twitched as he spoke, detailing the proposed hybridization process. It would involve a combination of artificial insemination and genetic engineering to create hybrid embryos, which would then be gestated within Ferengi hosts. As Adam listened, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this proposal than met the eye. The stakes were clear. If humans refused, the Ferengi might resort to force to ensure their survival. If they agreed, it could lead to significant genetic and cultural changes for both species. Adam knew he had to tread carefully, balancing the potential benefits of interspecies cooperation with the risks of exploitation or genetic manipulation. During a tour of the Ferengi ship, Adam's trained eye caught something unexpected. Female Ferengi, previously thought to be non-existent, moved quietly through the corridors, kept hidden from view. This anomaly piqued his curiosity, and he suspected it might be key to understanding the true nature of the Ferengi's request. Back on Earth, military forces were placed on high alert. Warships moved into defensive positions, preparing for potential conflict if negotiations failed. The weight of responsibility pressed down on Adam as he realized that the fate of both species might rest on his ability to uncover the truth behind the Ferengi's proposal and negotiate a solution that protected humanity's interests while potentially saving an alien race from extinction. As Adam prepared for the first round of formal negotiations, he steeled himself for the challenge ahead. He would need to draw on all his skills as a scientist, soldier, and diplomat to navigate this complex situation. The Ferengi's words echoed in his mind. You will be inside of us soon, human. Little did they know, Adam was determined to get inside their motivations first. As Adam prepared for the first round of formal negotiations, he couldn't shake the nagging feeling that there was more to the Ferengi's request than met the eye. The sight of those hidden female Ferengi lingered in his mind, a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit the picture presented by Pollux. During the initial talks, Adam listened intently as Pollux expounded on the proposed hybridization process. The Ferengi's large ears quivered with excitement as he described the potential benefits for both species. But Adam's trained eye caught the subtle tension in Pollux's posture, the way his gaze darted nervously when certain topics arose. We've prepared a tour of our genetic research facilities, Pollux announced, his sharp teeth gleaming in a forced smile. Perhaps you'd like to see the extent of our problem firsthand? Adam nodded, seizing the opportunity to gather more information. As they walked through the sterile corridors of the Ferengi laboratory, he noticed a striking pattern. Every scientist, every technician, every Ferengi in a position of authority was male. The females he had glimpsed earlier were nowhere to be seen in these important areas. His suspicions growing, Adam began to ask pointed questions about Ferengi biology and the nature of their genetic defect. Pollux's answers became increasingly evasive, his discomfort palpable. It was during a momentary lull in their tour that Adam's keen hearing picked up a hushed conversation from an adjacent room. A female voice, urgent and frustrated, spoke in rapid Ferengi. Though Adam couldn't understand the words, the tone was unmistakable. This was someone fighting to be heard. Excusing himself, Adam quickly located the source of the voice. He entered a small, cluttered office to find a female Ferengi hunched over a complex array of holographic displays. She whirled to face him, her large eyes widening in surprise and then narrowing with suspicion. "You're the human negotiator," she said in accented English, her voice a mix of curiosity and wariness. Adam nodded, extending his hand. "Adam Cox, and you are?" "Zera," she replied, hesitating before shaking his hand. "I'm a geneticist. I've been working on... Well, it doesn't matter. They don't listen anyway." Before Adam could probe further, Pollux burst into the room, his face flushed with anger. "Mr. Cox, this area is off-limits to outsiders. Zera, you know better than to speak with our... guest." But Adam had seen enough. The pieces were starting to fall into place. As they left the lab, he began to formulate a plan. He needed more time, more information, and most importantly, he needed to speak with Zera again. Over the next few days, Adam dug deeper into the Ferengi situation, using every resource at his disposal. He analyzed medical data, studied Ferengi social structures, and even managed to arrange a clandestine meeting with Zera. In a dimly lit maintenance corridor, Zera confirmed his suspicions. "The defect primarily affects males," she whispered, her eyes darting nervously. "It causes infertility and shortened lifespans. But the females, we're fine, thriving even. The males keep us hidden, powerless to maintain their control." Adam's mind raced. "So the hybridization plan?" Zera nodded grimly. "It's not about saving our species. It's about creating a new generation of Ferengi males capable of reproduction, maintaining the patriarchy." As they spoke, Zera revealed her own research, a potential cure using a combination of human stem cell therapy and Ferengi genetic engineering. "But the leadership rejected it," she said bitterly. "They prefer the hybridization plan. It lets them keep their power." Adam realized the magnitude of the situation. This wasn't just about preventing a war or saving a species. It was about revolutionizing an entire alien society. But as Adam and Zera worked together, combining their expertise to refine her cure, tensions between Earth and the Ferengi fleet escalated. General Marcus Stone, a hawkish military leader back on Earth, began pushing for a preemptive strike against the aliens. Adam found himself racing against time, trying to prevent a war while continuing his work with Zera. He sent urgent messages to Earth's leaders, explaining the complexities of the Ferengi situation and urging restraint. Their breakthrough came late one night, as Adam and Zera pored over genetic sequences in her small lab. "Look," Zera exclaimed, pointing to a holographic model. "If we combine this human stem cell technique with a Ferengi gene therapy..." Adam leaned in, his eyes widening as he grasped the implications. It could work. This could actually cure the male Ferengi without resorting to hybridization. Their elation was short-lived. Alarms blared through the ship, and Pollux's voice crackled over the intercom. "Security alert. The human negotiator is to be confined to quarters immediately. All female staff are to report for questioning." Adam's Navy SEAL training kicked in. He grabbed Zera's arm. "We need to move. Now." They fled through the winding corridors of the Ferengi flagship, evading security patrols and using Adam's military skills to stay one step ahead of their pursuers. As they descended into the lower levels of the ship, they found themselves in an area Adam had never seen before. The architecture changed, becoming softer, more organic. And then they saw them, female Ferengi, dozens of them, moving freely and purposefully through the corridors. They had stumbled upon a hidden society, a community of Ferengi women who had been living in secrecy. An older female, her eyes sharp with wisdom, stepped forward. "I am Lyra," she said, her voice carrying authority. "And you, Adam Cox, have just stepped into the true heart of Ferengi society." As Adam and Zera caught their breath, surrounded by this hidden community of female Ferengi, they realized that their discovery could change everything. The cure they had developed, combined with the revelation of this secret society, had the power to upend Ferengi culture entirely. But with Pollux and his supporters hunting them, and General Stone pushing for war back on Earth, Adam knew that the real challenge was just beginning. He looked at Zera, saw the willpower in her eyes, and knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. The fate of two species now rested on their ability to navigate the treacherous waters ahead, balancing science, diplomacy, and the complexities of cultural revolution. As alarms continued to blare in the distance, Adam and Zera turned to face Lyra and her community, ready to take the next step in their journey. As Adam and Zera faced Lyra and her hidden community of female Ferengi, the alarms continued to blare in the distance. The gravity of their situation settled upon them like a heavy cloak. "We don't have much time," Adam said, his voice low and urgent. "Pollux and his supporters will be here soon. We need to act fast." Lyra nodded, her eyes gleaming with grit. "What do you propose, human?" Adam turned to Zera. "The cure. We need to broadcast its existence along with evidence of this community. It's time to shatter the illusions that have kept Ferengi society divided." Zera's fingers flew over a nearby console, pulling up complex genetic sequences and data streams. "I can compile the research data, but we'll need access to the ship's main communication array to broadcast it fleet-wide." "I know where it is," one of the female Ferengi stepped forward. "I can guide you there." Adam nodded. "Good. Zera, you and a team of scientists start producing the cure. We'll need proof that it works. Lyra, I need your people to help fortify this area. We may have to defend it." As they set their plan in motion, chaos erupted throughout the ship. The broadcast of the female Ferengi's existence and the potential cure sent shockwaves through the fleet. On every deck, confused voices rose in a cacophony of disbelief and hope. Pollux's voice crackled over the ship's speakers, distorted by rage and fear. "This is a trick, a human deception. All loyal Ferengi, crush this insurrection." Adam led a team through the winding corridors, his SEAL training kicking in as they encountered pockets of resistance. Energy weapons flashed, filling the air with the acrid smell of ozone. He ducked behind a bulkhead, returning fire with a borrowed Ferengi disruptor. "We need to push through to the next section," he shouted over the din of battle. "The communication array is just beyond that bulkhead." As they fought their way forward, Adam's comlink chirped. Zera's voice came through, breathless with excitement. "Adam, we've done it. The first batch of the cure is ready. Initial tests show it's working." A surge of hope gave Adam renewed energy. He vaulted over a fallen console, catching a conservative Ferengi off guard with a swift strike. The path to the communication array clear, he and his team rushed in. "Start the broadcast," Adam ordered, taking up a defensive position by the door. "Send everything we've got, the cure, the evidence of the female community, all of it." As the data streamed out to the fleet, Adam's tactical display lit up with new threats. A group of human life signs appeared, moving with military precision through the ship's lower decks. "Damn it," Adam muttered, recognizing the pattern of movement. "Stone's operatives, they're heading for the main reactor." He keyed his comlink. "Zera, I need you to secure the research and continue producing the cure. I'm taking a team to stop a potential sabotage attempt." "Be careful, Adam." Zera's voice was tight with concern. Adam assembled a mixed group of progressive Ferengi and the few human operatives he could trust. They moved swiftly through the ship, using service tunnels and maintenance shafts to avoid the worst of the fighting. As they neared the reactor chamber, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared, and a computerized voice announced, "Warning, reactor instability detected, meltdown imminent." Adam cursed under his breath. They were too late to prevent the sabotage entirely. He turned to his team. "We need to stabilize that reactor, or this ship, and everyone on it is done for." They burst into the reactor chamber, immediately engaging Stone's operatives in close-quarters combat. Adam's mind raced, dividing his attention between the firefight and the increasingly unstable reactor core. "Cover me!" he shouted, sprinting toward the main control panel. Energy bolts sizzled past his head as he skidded to a stop in front of the complex Ferengi technology. Adam's fingers flew over the alien controls, his scientific background allowing him to decipher the critical systems. A Ferengi engineer joined him, shouting instructions over the roar of the destabilizing reactor. "We need to reroute power from the auxiliary systems," Adam yelled, his face illuminated by the pulsing red emergency lights. It's our only chance to contain the meltdown. As they worked frantically to save the ship, the tide of battle began to turn. News of the near disaster spread quickly, and many of Pollux's supporters, seeing the bravery and capability of both Adam and the female Ferengi, began to question their loyalties. With the reactor finally stabilized and the immediate threat neutralized, an eerie calm settled over the ship. Adam's comlink crackled to life. It was Pollux. "Human," the Ferengi's voice was strained, all trace of its former arrogance gone. Perhaps we should talk." Adam exchanged a look with Zera, who had joined him in the aftermath of the reactor crisis. The negotiation that could reshape Ferengi society and potentially change the course of human-alien relations forever was about to begin. As they made their way to the ship's conference room, Adam felt the weight of two civilizations on his shoulders. He glanced at Zera, her presence both a comfort and a reminder of the complex emotions now entangled with his mission. The door to the conference room loomed before them, a portal to an uncertain future. Adam took a deep breath, steadying himself for the challenge ahead. As the door slid open, he stepped forward, ready to face whatever lay on the other side. The door slid open, revealing a scene of tense anticipation. The Grand Council chamber stretched before them, its vaulted ceiling adorned with intricate Ferengi designs. At the center, a long table divided the room into two factions, the progressives on one side, the conservatives on the other. Adam strode in, Zera and Lyra flanking him. He felt the weight of countless eyes upon them as they took their seats. Across the table, Pollux sat rigid, his lobes twitching with scarcely controlled agitation. "Let us begin," Adam said, his voice carrying across the chamber. He activated a holographic display, filling the air with complex genetic sequences and data streams. "What you see before you is the culmination of our research, a cure that can save Ferengi males without resorting to hybridization." Murmurs rippled through the conservative ranks. Adam pressed on, explaining the intricacies of the treatment. He watched as understanding dawned on faces around the room, saw the seed of hope take root even among Pollux's staunchest supporters. "This is nothing but human trickery," Pollux's voice cut through the chamber, silencing the whispers. He stood, his face contorted with rage and fear. "You would have us abandon our ways, destroy everything that makes us Ferengi." Adam opened his mouth to respond, but the words died in his throat as Pollux reached into his robes and produced a small, ominous device. The room fell deathly silent. "A genetic bomb," Pollux sneered, his finger hovering over a glowing red button. "Designed to merge human and Ferengi DNA on a massive scale. Unless my demands are met, unless we maintain our current social structure, I will detonate it, and then we shall all be one, whether we like it or not." Chaos erupted in the chamber. Adam's mind raced, assessing the situation with lightning speed. He caught Zera's eye, then Lyra's, a silent message passing between them. As the two began quietly ushering people towards the exits, Adam stepped forward, hands raised in a placating gesture. "Pollux," he said, his voice calm despite the thundering of his heart. "Think about what you're doing. This isn't the way to preserve Ferengi culture. It's a way to destroy it entirely." Pollux's hand trembled, his determination visibly wavering. Adam inched closer, drawing on everything he knew about Ferengi physiology. He noticed the slight imbalance in Pollux's stance, the way he favored his left side. In a blur of motion, Adam struck. He feinted left, then ducked right, using Pollux's instinctive reaction against him. A swift strike to the Ferengi's wrist sent the device clattering to the floor. Before Pollux could recover, Adam had him pinned, the fight over almost before it began. But the danger was far from past. Adam scooped up the genetic bomb, his blood running cold as he saw the timer already counting down. "Zera!" he called. "I need your help!" She was at his side in an instant, her eyes widening as she took in the complexity of the device. "We need to access the primary circuit," she said, her fingers already probing the bomb's casing. Adam nodded, using his knowledge of Ferengi technology to identify the access panel. Together, they worked in a silent, intense tandem, each second stretching into eternity as the timer ticked relentlessly downward. "There!" Zera exclaimed, pointing to a cluster of fibers. If we can sever that connection. Adam's hand was steady as he carefully separated the delicate strands. With a soft click, the timer froze, then went dark. A collective sigh of relief swept through the room. As security personnel led Pollux away, Adam became aware of a new sound filling the chamber. Applause. It started tentatively, then swelled. Ferengi from both factions joining in a spontaneous show of support. A chime from Adam's communicator cut through the celebration. The face of the United Earth government spokesperson appeared, her expression grave. "We've just received word of General Stone's unauthorized actions," she said. "The UEG officially denounces his behavior and offers full support to your mission, Mr. Cox. We stand ready to assist in any way we can." The announcement sent a ripple of excitement through the assembled Ferengi. Adam could see the last vestiges of resistance crumbling, replaced by a cautious optimism. "We have much work ahead of us," Adam addressed the room. "But today we've taken the first step towards a new future. A future where Ferengi society can thrive, where all voices are heard, and where our two species can work together for the betterment of both." As the meeting adjourned, Adam and Zera found themselves swept up in a whirlwind of activity. Medical stations were rapidly established throughout the Ferengi fleet, with mixed teams of human and Ferengi personnel working side by side to administer the cure. Adam watched as the first group of Ferengi males received the treatment, their expressions transforming from trepidation to wonder as they felt the effects. Beside him, Zera beamed with pride and relief. "We did it," she said softly, her hand finding his. Adam squeezed her hand, acutely aware of the growing connection between them. "We've made a start," he replied. "But there's still so much to do. Reshaping an entire society won't happen overnight." Zera nodded, her eyes bright with dedication. "Then we'll face it together, one step at a time." As they turned to continue their work, Adam knew that the challenges ahead were formidable. Distributing the cure to the Ferengi homeworld and colonies, navigating the intricacies of a society in flux, and exploring the new possibilities for human-Ferengi relations, all while coming to terms with his deepening feelings for Zera. But as he looked around at the humans and Ferengi working together, at the palpable sense of hope filling the ship, Adam felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. The journey of change had only just begun. As the dust settled on the monumental events aboard the Ferengi ship, Adam and Zera found themselves thrust into a new chapter of their mission. The success of the cure and the shift in Ferengi society had opened a door, but now they needed to step through it. "We need to take this to Ferenginar," Adam said, studying the holographic map of Ferengi space. "The homeworld is where we can make the biggest impact." Zera nodded, her eyes bright with purpose. "It won't be easy. The Grand Nagus holds significant sway over planetary affairs." Their ship dropped out of warp on the outskirts of the Ferenginar system. As they approached the planet, Adam marveled at the swirling emerald and sapphire orb before them. Ferenginar's infamous rain-soaked surface glistened beneath its thick cloud cover. The comm system crackled to life. "Unidentified vessel, state your business," a gruff Ferengi voice demanded. Adam leaned forward. "This is Adam Cox of the United Earth Government, accompanied by Zera. We request permission to land and meet with the Grand Nagus." A tense silence followed before the voice returned, noticeably less hostile. "Permission granted. Follow the designated flight path to the capital." As their ship descended through Ferenginar's atmosphere, Adam and Zera witnessed the stark division among the planet's population. Crowds had gathered in the streets of the capital, some waving banners of welcome, while others held signs protesting their arrival. "Looks like news travels fast," Adam murmured, watching the scene unfold beneath them. They touched down on a landing pad, slick with the planet's constant rainfall. A delegation waited for them, led by a wizened Ferengi adorned in ornate robes, the Grand Nagus Zek himself. Adam and Zera disembarked, the warm rain immediately soaking through their clothes. Zek eyed them warily, his wrinkled face a mask of barely concealed skepticism. "Welcome to Ferenginar," Zek said, his voice raspy with age. "I trust you understand the delicate nature of your visit." Adam nodded, maintaining eye contact with the Ferengi leader. We do, Grand Nagus. We're here to help, not to impose. Zek grunted, then turned abruptly. Follow me. We have much to discuss. The group made their way through the winding streets of the capital, passing by curious onlookers and scowling traditionalists. The city was a maze of interconnected tubes and domes, designed to channel the endless rainfall into reservoirs and power generators. Inside the Tower of Commerce, Zek's seat of power, they gathered in a grand chamber. The walls were lined with latinum-plated decoration, a testament to the Ferengi obsession with wealth. Zek settled into an oversized chair, his fingers steepled before him. Now then, explain to me why I shouldn't have you both ejected from Ferengi space this instant. Adam took a deep breath, then launched into their proposal. He outlined the gradual transition plan, emphasizing how it would incorporate traditional Ferengi values while promoting necessary changes. We're not here to destroy Ferengi culture, Adam assured Zek. We want to help it evolve, to become stronger and more resilient. Zera stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. The females of Ferenginar have untapped potential. By allowing us to contribute fully to society, you'll see an economic boom unlike anything in your history. Zek listened, his expression inscrutable. When they finished, he leaned back in his chair, silent for a long moment. Your words are intriguing, he admitted finally. But words are cheap. Show me results, and perhaps we can do business. With Zek's tentative approval, Adam and Zera set their plan in motion. They established distribution centers for the cure in major cities, working tirelessly to coordinate with local medical personnel. However, resistance quickly emerged. Conservative factions spread misinformation, claiming the cure would erase Ferengi identity. Adam countered by organizing public demonstrations, bringing in cured males to share their experiences. At one such event in the capital's central market, a cured Ferengi named Nog took the stage. Brothers, he called out, his voice strong and clear. I stand before you today, healthier and more virile than ever before. This cure doesn't diminish us. It makes us stronger. The crowd murmured, a mix of hope and skepticism rippling through the gathered Ferengi. Adam watched from the sidelines, noting the gradual shift in attitudes as more and more Ferengi witnessed the cure's positive effects firsthand. Meanwhile, Zera focused on empowering Ferengi females. She established education centers where women could learn skills previously denied to them. At first, these centers faced fierce opposition from traditional male leaders. During one tense confrontation outside a newly opened center, a group of male protesters blocked the entrance. Zera stood her ground, addressing them directly. For too long, you've ignored half of your population's potential, she declared. Imagine the profits to be made when Ferengi women are allowed to contribute fully to your economy. Her words struck a chord with some of the protesters. The mention of increased profits piqued their interest, and slowly the group began to disperse. As weeks turned into months, Adam and Zera's efforts began to bear fruit. The cure's distribution expanded, and more Ferengi females took on prominent roles in business and science. However, their success also bred new challenges. A powerful Ferengi businessman named Brunt emerged as the leader of the opposition. He saw the changes as a threat to his wealth and influence, and began a campaign of economic sabotage to undermine their work. Adam received reports of supply chain disruptions and sudden, unexplained cancellations of contracts with their distribution partners. He knew they needed to act fast to counter Brunt's efforts. We need to gather evidence, Adam told Zera as they pored over financial records late one night. If we can prove Brunt's illegal activities, we can turn public opinion against him. As they worked to build a case against Brunt, Adam received a troubling communication from Earth. Some human factions, including supporters of General Stone, were pushing for a more aggressive approach to Ferengi relations. They want to exploit the situation, Adam explained to Zera, his face grim. They see the Ferengi as vulnerable and want to take advantage. Zera's expression hardened. We can't let that happen. It would undo everything we've worked for. Faced with mounting pressures from both sides, Adam and Zera knew they needed a bold move to secure the progress they'd made. They decided to organize a grand summit on Ferenginar, bringing together representatives from both species to showcase the benefits of cooperation. As they began preparations for the summit, Adam and Zera understood the enormity of the task before them. The future of human-Ferengi relations, the success of the cure, and the course of Ferengi society all hung in the balance. In the quiet of their shared quarters, Adam turned to Zera, his expression a mix of persistence and affection. "Whatever happens," he said softly, "we're in this together." Zera nodded, reaching out to take his hand. As they stood there, the constant patter of Ferenginar's rain a steady backdrop, they both knew that the true test of their mission and their relationship was yet to come. The grand summit on Ferenginar arrived with all the pomp and spectacle befitting such a momentous occasion. The Tower of Commerce, normally a bastion of cutthroat business dealings, had been transformed into a neutral ground for diplomacy. Delegates from Earth and Ferenginar filed into the cavernous main hall, their chatter creating a low hum that reverberated off the latinum-plated walls. Adam straightened his uniform as he and Zera took their positions at the podium. The weight of what they were about to do pressed upon him, but he drew strength from Zera's presence at his side. "Representatives of Earth and Ferenginar," Adam began, his voice carrying across the hushed audience. "We stand here today not as separate species, but as partners in progress." He launched into a detailed presentation of the genetic cure's success, backed by holographic displays of medical data and testimonials from cured Ferengi. Zera followed, outlining the societal changes already taking root on Ferenginar. "Our females are no longer silent bystanders," she declared, her eyes blazing with conviction. "We are active participants in commerce, science, and governance, and our economy is stronger for it." A sudden commotion erupted from the back of the hall. A group of Ferengi, led by the scowling figure of Brunt, pushed their way forward. "Lies!" Brunt shouted, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. "These humans seek to destroy our way of life. They manipulate us with their so-called cure and corrupt our females with ideas of equality." Security forces moved swiftly, surrounding Brunt and his supporters. The protesters struggled, but found themselves outmatched by the mixed team of human and Ferengi guards. Adam raised his hands, calling for calm. "We hear your concerns," he said, addressing Brunt directly, "and we welcome the opportunity to address them openly." He proposed a series of cultural exchange programs, his words painting a picture of Ferengi and humans working side by side in various fields. "Through these joint ventures, we can demonstrate that our alliance strengthens both our societies without diminishing either." The tension in the room began to dissipate as Adam spoke, replaced by a cautious optimism. Even some of Brunt's supporters looked thoughtful, their protests dying on their lips. Suddenly, a Ferengi aide burst into the hall, his face flushed with urgency. He whispered hurriedly to Grand Nagus Zek, whose expression grew grave. Zek stood, silencing the room with a raised hand. "We've received distressing news. A distant Ferengi colony is experiencing a medical emergency. A mutation of the original genetic defect has emerged." Murmurs of concern rippled through the crowd. Adam and Zera exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. "Grand Nagus," Adam said, stepping forward, "with your permission, we volunteer to lead a joint medical team to the colony." Zera nodded her agreement. "We have the expertise and the resources to handle this crisis." Their offer sent a wave of surprise through the assembly. Zek studied them for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well. Your willingness to personally address this crisis speaks volumes." As the summit adjourned and preparations for the mission began in earnest, Adam's communicator chimed with an incoming transmission. The United Earth Government insignia flashed on the screen, marked as confidential. Adam's blood ran cold as he read the message. A faction within the human government, still clinging to General Stone's ideology, planned to exploit the Ferengi's vulnerability. They aimed to use the medical crisis as cover for inserting covert operatives into Ferengi society. He looked up to see Zera watching him, concern etched on her face. "What is it?" she asked. Adam hesitated, then made his decision. "We need to speak with Grand Nagus Zek, now." They found Zek in his private chambers, poring over reports of the colony crisis. Adam took a deep breath and shared the contents of the message. Zek's eyes narrowed as he processed the information. "And you chose to bring this to me rather than keep it to yourself," Why? Because trust and transparency are the foundation of our alliance, Adam replied firmly. I won't be party to any scheme that undermines what we're building here. Zek nodded slowly, a hint of respect glimmering in his eyes. Very well. We'll work together to counter this plot, but we must keep this information contained. A public revelation could shatter our fragile progress. As they finalized plans for the medical mission, Adam and Zera uncovered another layer to the conspiracy. Financial records and intercepted communications pointed to a connection between Brunt and the human faction seeking to exploit the Ferengi. It all fits, Zera said, her voice tight with anger. Brunt's not just a traditionalist, he's actively working to undermine our alliance for his own gain. With the evidence secured and transmitted to both Ferengi and Earth authorities, Adam and Zera boarded the medical ship. The sleek vessel, a marvel of combined human and Ferengi technology, hummed with potential as it lifted off from Ferenginar's rain-soaked surface. As they broke atmosphere, the ship's sensors picked up several unmarked vessels, maintaining a discreet distance behind them. Looks like we've got company, Adam muttered, sliding into the pilot's seat. He initiated a series of evasive maneuvers, the ship responding smoothly to his commands. Zera worked furiously at the communications array, establishing secure channels to both Ferenginar and Earth. We need to alert them to the situation, she said, her fingers flying over the controls. As they raced through space, Adam and Zera found moments between preparations to discuss their shared future. The challenges they faced had only strengthened their bond, and they began to see their relationship as a powerful symbol of what their two species could achieve together. Their quiet moment was shattered as proximity alarms blared. The pursuing ships had suddenly accelerated, closing the distance rapidly. "Strap in," Adam called out, his hands dancing across the flight controls. "This is going to get rough." The medical ship banked hard, narrowly avoiding a barrage of weapons fire. Adam's Navy SEAL training kicked in as he pushed the ship to its limits, weaving through the attacking vessels while keeping the precious cargo and personnel safe. Just as the situation seemed dire, reinforcements arrived. Ferengi and human patrol ships dropped out of warp, moving to engage the attackers. In the chaos, Adam managed to disable one of the enemy vessels with a precision strike. As the dust settled and the remaining attackers fled, Adam and Zera shared a look of grim satisfaction. The disabled ship would provide crucial evidence, exposing the full extent of the conspiracy against their alliance. With the immediate threat neutralized, they finally approached the affected colony. The sight that greeted them as they descended through the atmosphere was one of desperation. Medical facilities overwhelmed, streets filled with the sick and suffering. Adam and Zera hit the ground running, coordinating the setup of treatment centers and beginning to administer the modified cure. As they worked tirelessly to combat the crisis, news of the foiled attack and exposed conspiracy began to spread throughout human and Ferengi space. Public opinion shifted dramatically, with many hailing Adam and Zera as heroes. Their actions had not only saved lives, but potentially altered the course of human-Ferengi relations for generations to come. As the modified cure took effect and the colony's population began to recover, Adam and Zera received word that both the Ferengi government and Earth's leadership were convening emergency sessions to address the attempted sabotage and strengthen the alliance. Standing together on a balcony overlooking the recovering colony, Adam and Zera took a moment to breathe. The challenges they had faced, and those still to come, were formidable. But as they watched humans and Ferengi working side by side to heal the sick and rebuild the community, they felt a surge of hope. "We've come so far," Zera said softly, her hand finding Adam's. Adam nodded, his eyes on the horizon. "And we've got a long way yet to go, but together, I think we just might make it." As the sun set on the colony, casting a warm glow over the scene of cooperation and healing, Adam and Zera knew that their work was not nearly finished. The political fallout from the conspiracy would need to be addressed, and the long-term success of their efforts remained uncertain. But for now, they had hope, and each other. But for now, they had hope, and each other. The journey back to Ferenginar was tense, filled with long hours of strategizing and preparing for the political storm that awaited them. As their ship descended through the planet's perpetual rain clouds, Adam and Zera exchanged a determined glance. The familiar skyline of the Ferengi capital came into view, its towering spires of commerce now seeming to vibrate with an undercurrent of unrest. No sooner had they disembarked than they were whisked away to the Tower of Commerce, where Grand Nagus Zek had convened an emergency session of the Ferengi Alliance. The cavernous assembly hall buzzed with agitated voices, a cacophony of speculation and accusation. Adam and Zera stood before the gathered representatives, the weight of two civilizations' futures resting on their shoulders. Adam cleared his throat, his voice cutting through the din. "Esteemed members of the Alliance," he began, "we come before you with grave news and incontrovertible evidence." Over the next hour, they laid out the details of Brunt's betrayal and the conspiracy that had nearly derailed their mission. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing intercepted communications, financial records, and footage from the attack on their medical ship. The assembly erupted into chaos as the full scope of Brunt's actions became clear. Shouts of "treachery" and "arrest him" echoed off the latinum-plated walls. Grand Nagus Zek raised his hands, calling for order. "This is a dark day for the Ferengi Alliance," he declared, his gravelly voice somber. "But thanks to the actions of Adam Cox and Zera, we have been spared an even greater calamity." As the political fallout began to settle, Adam's communicator chirped. He stepped aside to answer, his expression growing taut as he listened. "Understood, Ambassador. We'll prepare for your arrival." Zera moved to his side, concern etched on her face. "What is it?" "Earth is sending a diplomatic delegation," Adam explained, his voice low, "led by Ambassador Sarah Henry." The arrival of the Earth delegation 2 days later added a new layer of tension to the already volatile situation. Ambassador Henry, a tall woman with steel-gray hair and piercing blue eyes, surveyed the Ferengi capital with barely concealed skepticism. "Mr. Cox," she greeted Adam, her tone cordial but cool. "I must say, you've certainly stirred things up here." As they made their way to a private meeting room, Henry leaned in close. "While I appreciate your dedication, I have concerns about the pace of these changes. We need to tread carefully to avoid destabilizing the entire quadrant." Adam bristled at the implication, but kept his voice level. "With respect, Ambassador, we're well past the point of treading carefully. Brunt's actions have forced our hand." Their discussion was interrupted by an urgent summons from the Grand Nagus. Intelligence reports had located Brunt on a remote Ferengi outpost, amassing a mercenary fleet. In the ensuing strategy session, Adam found himself at odds with Ambassador Henry. Her calls for caution clashed with his proposal for swift military action. "We can't afford to give Brunt time to consolidate his forces," Adam argued, his frustration mounting. Zera, who had been quietly observing, suddenly spoke up. "What if we could neutralize Brunt without resorting to violence?" All eyes turned to her as she outlined her plan for a non-lethal bioagent. The idea sparked a flurry of debate, but ultimately won approval from both the Nagus and the Earth delegation. The next week was a blur of activity. Adam and Zera worked around the clock in a state-of-the-art lab, combining human and Ferengi scientific knowledge to create the bioagent. Their shared goal brought them closer than ever, and in rare moments of quiet, they found themselves discussing a future together. As the bioagent neared completion, alarms blared throughout the capital. Brunt's fleet had been detected on long-range sensors, heading straight for Ferenginar. The Joint Task Force assembled quickly, a mix of human and Ferengi operatives boarding a sleek prototype vessel. As they prepared for departure, Adam pulled Zera aside. "You don't have to come," he said softly, his eyes searching hers. "It's going to be dangerous." Zera's gaze was unwavering. "We started this together, Adam. We'll finish it together." As their ship broke orbit, Adam took the helm, his hands steady on the controls. The task force fell into formation behind them, a testament to what their two species could achieve together. The remote Ferengi outpost loomed before them, a collection of ramshackle structures clinging to an asteroid's craggy surface, and beyond it, Brunt's mercenary fleet, a motley assortment of ships preparing for departure. Adam's voice rang out over the comm system. "All units, engage as planned. We need to keep them occupied while we deploy the bioagent. The task force surged forward, weapons blazing. Adam's ship darted between the larger mercenary vessels, drawing their fire and creating chaos in their ranks. Inside the ship, Zera worked feverishly at her console, coordinating the deployment of the bioagent. "We're almost in range," she called out, her voice tense with concentration. Suddenly, a massive impact rocked the ship. Warning klaxons blared as systems began to fail. "Direct hit to our starboard engine," the tactical officer reported, his voice strained. "We're losing power." Adam's mind focused as he wrestled with the controls, trying to keep the damaged ship on course. "Zera, it's now or never." Zera's fingers flew across her console. "Deploying bioagent, now." A series of canisters launched from their ship, dispersing a fine mist into the life support systems of Brunt's fleet. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the mercenary ships began to drift, their weapons falling silent. As the effects of the bioagent spread, Adam maneuvered their crippled vessel back towards the task force. Zera rushed to his side, her eyes wide with concern as she took in the extent of the damage. "We did it," Adam said, a weary smile crossing his face. "Brunt's neutralized." Zera nodded, relief flooding her features. But as she looked out at the disabled mercenary fleet and back at their own damaged ship, she knew that their work was a long way to go. The true test of the human-Ferengi alliance was just beginning. The true test of the human-Ferengi alliance was just starting to unfold. As the crippled ship limped towards the task force's command vessel, Adam fought to maintain control. The hull groaned under the strain, systems flickering ominously. "Docking clamps engaged," Zera announced, her voice tight with tension. The moment they were secure, the airlock hissed open. Medical teams swarmed in, their urgency palpable as they triaged the injured. Adam winced as a medic examined his arm, a deep gash he hadn't even noticed in the heat of battle. Zera rushed to his side, her eyes wide with concern. "Adam, you're hurt." He managed a weak smile. "It's nothing compared to what we've accomplished." As they were led to the command vessel's medical bay, reports flooded in from across the battlefield. Brunt's mercenary fleet drifted powerless, their crews incapacitated by the bioagent. The task force moved swiftly, boarding the enemy ships and securing their prisoners. In the following days, as they made their way back to Ferenginar, the full impact of their mission began to sink in. News of their success spread like wildfire through both human and Ferengi communication channels. By the time they entered Ferenginar's orbit, a hero's welcome awaited them. The spaceport was a sea of faces, humans and Ferengi alike, all cheering as Adam and Zera disembarked. Grand Nagus Zek stood at the forefront, his wizened face beaming with pride. "My friends," he called out, his voice carrying over the crowd, "today marks a new era for the Ferengi Alliance and our human allies." As they were ushered into the Tower of Commerce, Adam felt a shift in the air. The usual buzz of financial transactions was muted, replaced by excited discussions of cultural exchange and joint ventures. In a private meeting with the Grand Nagus, Adam and Zera recounted the details of their mission. Zek listened intently, his shrewd eyes gleaming with each new piece of information. "You have done more than secure our alliance," Zek declared. "You have shown us a new path forward. We must seize this opportunity for change." Over the next few weeks, Ferenginar was a hive of activity. The Grand Nagus announced a series of sweeping reforms aimed at fully integrating females into Ferengi society and strengthening ties with Earth. Public opinion, once skeptical of such drastic changes, now swung overwhelmingly in favor of this new direction. Amid the whirlwind of political and social transformation, Adam found a quiet moment with Zera. They stood on a balcony overlooking the capital, the perpetual rain creating a shimmering curtain around them. "Zera," Adam began, his heart racing, "these past months have shown me what's truly valuable in life." He reached into his pocket, producing a small box. "And nothing is more precious to me than you." Zera's eyes widened as Adam opened the box, revealing a ring that seamlessly blended human and Ferengi design elements. A band of latinum encircled a brilliant earth diamond, the setting reminiscent of Ferengi architecture. "Will you marry me?" Adam asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Tears welled in Zera's eyes as she nodded, unable to speak. As Adam slipped the ring onto her finger, she pulled him close, their lips meeting in a kiss that bridged two worlds. Their engagement sent shockwaves through both societies. The Grand Nagus, seeing an opportunity to solidify the alliance, proposed a grand ceremony in his palace. As preparations began, Adam and Zera found themselves at the center of a cultural whirlwind, working to blend human and Ferengi traditions into a cohesive ceremony. The day of the wedding dawned bright, the usual Ferengi reigns holding off as if in deference to the occasion. The Grand Nagus's palace was transformed, draped in a mix of Ferengi finery and earth florals. Dignitaries from both worlds filled the grand hall, their excited chatter creating a low hum of anticipation. As Adam stood at the altar, he felt a swell of emotion. This was more than just his wedding day. It was a symbol of everything he and Zera had fought for. When the doors opened and Zera appeared, resplendent in a gown that married Ferengi luxury with human elegance, Adam's breath caught in his throat. Their vows, carefully crafted to honor both their heritages, rang out clear and true. As they sealed their union with a kiss, the assembled crowd erupted in cheers. In that moment, the last barriers between human and Ferengi seemed to crumble away. In the aftermath of the wedding, the Grand Nagus made two significant announcements. Zera was appointed head of a new joint scientific institution, tasked with combining human and Ferengi knowledge to tackle galactic challenges. Adam, recognized for his unique blend of diplomatic and military skills, was offered the position of chief liaison between Earth and Ferenginar. As they settled into their new roles, Adam and Zera found themselves at the forefront of a rapidly changing galaxy. Cultural exchange programs flourished, joint business ventures took off, and the once rigid barriers between humans and Ferengi began to blur. 1 year after their wedding, as they prepared for a routine meeting with Earth officials, Zera pulled Adam aside, her eyes shining with excitement. "Adam," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "I have news. We're going to have a baby. Twins, actually." The revelation stunned Adam into silence. As the implications sank in, the first human-Ferengi hybrid children, he gathered Zera in his arms, overwhelmed by joy and the weight of what this meant for their peoples. The news of Zera's pregnancy spread quickly, captivating both humans and Ferengi. Medical teams from both worlds came together, pooling their knowledge to ensure the health of mother and babies. The advancements made during this process opened new frontiers in interspecies medicine. As Zera's due date approached, anticipation reached a fever pitch. The birth would be broadcast across human and Ferengi space, a moment that would indelibly alter the course of both civilizations. Finally, the day arrived. Adam stood by Zera's side, holding her hand as she brought their children into the world. The medical team worked with practiced efficiency, their faces a mix of concentration and awe. When the cries of the newborns filled the room, Adam felt his heart swell. He looked down at the tiny faces of his son and daughter, marveling at the perfect blend of human and Ferengi features. As they cradled their children, Adam and Zera exchanged a look of pure wonder. They had come so far from that first encounter on the medical ship, yet in many ways, their journey was just beginning. The image of the new family was broadcast across the galaxy, a powerful symbol of what could be achieved through understanding and cooperation. As congratulations poured in from every corner of known space, Adam and Zera knew that their children would grow up in a universe of possibilities they had once only dreamed of. In the quiet of the nursery, as their newborns slept peacefully, Adam and Zera began to plan for the future. There were still challenges to face, prejudices to overcome, and a galaxy of opportunities to explore. But for now, in this moment of new life and new hope, the future seemed brighter than ever before.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.